Hi, this is Far Out Amazing Adventures, and today I want to talk about the Johnstown flood disaster of 1889, or the Johnstown Horror. But before we get anywhere, please press the subscribe button and subscribe if you love adventure. Johnstown Flood National Memorial and Visitor Center is located on the outskirts of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, also located next to the site of a former lake called Lake Conemaugh, and also the South Fork Dam that used to be down there. As you can see in the back where that river is, that's where Lake Conemaugh used to be. And the Elias J. Unger House was owned by Elias J. Unger, who served as manager of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. I had my chance to go to Johnstown twice, as well as visit the ruins of the dam. Of course, while I was there, I visited the Flood Museum at the main visitor center, owned and operated by the National Park Registry. I also visited the other Flood Museum located at downtown Johnstown. South Fork Dam, an earth dam, was originally built between 1838 and 1853 by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, later to be abandoned, then sold to the Pennsylvania Railroad, then sold finally to private investors. From 1881, when the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club was opened, to 1889, the dam started having serious issues, and during those times, there was poor engineering maintenance done to it. So finally, in May 31st, 1889, after tremendous heavy rains, the South Fork Dam finally busted, spewing out massive amounts of water that raced downstream, wiping out everything it came to, including small villages, before heading down to Johnstown. As I was saying before about the flood from the South Fork Dam that wiped out several small villages before heading to Johnstown, Mineral Point was one of the small villages. When the massive flood came racing through Mineral Point, it pretty much removed Mineral Point from the face of the planet. This church bell is one of the few relics left of Mineral Point. These are items and furniture left over from the flood. They were collected, salvaged, and then restored. Then were taken into the museum and put on display exactly how they were found. It was pretty good, interesting sight to see. I mean, especially when I went to both museums. Like I said before, the first museum was actually in the main center, on the outskirts of Johnstown. Then Johnstown downtown, there was another museum. So after the South Fork Dam finally busted, spewing tons of water, which wiped out small villages, and finally making its way to Johnstown, the death toll of that disaster was over 2,000. Over 2,000 people perished in that flood. And out of that death toll count, many were missing. So there was an effort to look for those missing people. So they gathered search crews to look high and low, and even afar off, and out of those missing people, a good amount were found, but only parts of them were found, body parts, and the others who were declared missing were never found again. In the later years, as late as 1911, they were actually finding body parts as far as Cincinnati, and the people, when they found that, they knew it had something to do with the flood of 1889. Of course, like I said, they could not have been identified, but as late as 1911, you know, human remains were still being found even far off. This is a picture of the South Fork Dam before it busted. As you can see the labels, even the dollar line, you can see where it broke at. And if you look in the back, you can see South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. And that's the picture of, South Fork Dam when, after the disaster, before and after photos. And this is another picture showing the aftermath of the flood, and the dotted line showing the top of the dam where it used to be. And in the very back, you can actually see the valley where Lake Conemaugh used to sit in. This is a concept of the dam, when it, it's pretty much showing an illustration of how it just, spewed out and breached its integrity. Of course, there's no exact photo of it, but I took pictures here, current day, where that train is and where the water is. That's pretty much where it spewed out. Here's an up close photo I took. Alright, I shot this video and next to the river here. I'm actually at the bottom here where the dam, what the lake used to be, and the dam is right behind me. This is pretty much the lake bed. It used to be Lake Conemaugh. And of course there's where the tree line is where the lake line was. And as I'm just turning around slowly to your right there, you can actually see the breach of the dam where, it pretty much, busted out, and the water just pretty much gushed out, and just, it was just such a powerful force, especially when it raced down into the valley, just wiped out everything it came across. Here's another video I shot. I'm actually on the other side of the dam. I can see the visitor center on the other side. And this is just another angle where Lake Conemaugh used to be. Now these are pictures of the ruins of the Johnstown downtown. A lot of these buildings were partially broken up and destroyed. Others were just totally wiped out. And the whole town and even the surrounding areas look like a salvage yard. And after all this calamity, a lot of people were just, either just left homeless, and there were a lot of them were just hopeless. They just didn't have any hope. Lost a lot of things, a lot of loved ones, their livelihood. But hey, after a while, relief funds came. A lot of people came to help the town out and the surrounding areas, including the American Red Cross, run by Clara Barton. When the flood came down to Johnstown, it brought a lot of things with it. It brought, just buildings, brought debris, trees, and including locomotives and trains. Now, a lot of the locomotives and trains were actually in small villages like, Mineral Point. But when the flood came down the valley, it just grabbed them up and just, went down to Johnstown and just threw them all over the place. Before the flood ever happened, and before the disaster of 1889, Johnstown was pretty much a robust city, with their economics, jobs, and opportunities. But of course, after the flood and the disaster, all that changed. All these photos and videos I took definitely does not explain of the horrific past of Johnstown. Now, many people believe that Johnstown disaster of 1889 was the second most deadliest flood in U.S. history. Of course, the number one is, the Mississippi flood. Okay guys, that wraps it up. I enjoyed sharing this video of Johnstown disaster, as well as the photos and videos I took while I was at Johnstown. Again, if you like adventure, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching.